Hello everyone, today we have a spicy brew that came from one of the top ranked players. He's named El Jefe. Always fantastic matches whenever I run into him, and this brew feels great. So the main idea with this is that it's a kind of hybrid between either the Wong Namora stuff or the Hammer Bros, and they work really well together. I tried to create something like this in the past, but I wasn't able to quite get it exactly where it needed to be. But I took this one for a spin and had an absolute insane run. I think I ended with over 70% win rate, or very, very close to 70% win rate. Gained over 1 cube per game, and the deck overall felt really flexible in deciding when to use what line, or maybe pivoting if the opponent has some kind of counterplay to whatever you're wanting to do. So the original build, instead of Luke Cage, it had Nightcrawler, but there has been a lot of Ajax around, there has been a lot of Hazmat going around, and so Luke Cage felt pretty good. If you want something a little bit lower curve for more flexible and maneuverable power for that Namora line, you can take out the Luke Cage, put back in Nightcrawler, and you will be good to go. So the biggest piece of this deck is that you want to position your cards out early into a flexible end game, depending on what your early game hand looked like. If it looked like the Hammer Bros, then of course you're going to want to try to position your hammers plus an Odin somewhere to swing 2 lanes or maybe all 3. You can also go with like a Wong into your 2 hammers. That's going to allow them to double trigger on that last turn. Maybe you throw in like your Jeff or something else into that lane. Maybe it ends up being White Widow if they're not going to play for that location, and then you can hit them with negative cards while double triggering your hammers in the process. You can also end up pivoting, going with the Namora line of things and being able to set up a Wong into Namora into potentially an Odin. If the opponent isn't running a deck that typically runs that counter card or like a Shang-Chi, a Shadow King, then you're going to be able to just full send a quadruple trigger Namora, and it's going to be really difficult for the opponent to keep up with. Overall, the deck felt great, a lot better than I thought it would, and I always like any excuse to run Wong. It is never Wong to run Wong. And before we jump over into the games, I am live right now, counting down the hours until Deadpool's Diner and Copycat's release, and I'm going to be testing those live as soon as they come out, so definitely check me out on twitch.tv/TLSGsnap if you want to see what I've cooked up. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple games. Thank you guys as always for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. Sure, if that's going to be a good card or not for us, probably not, but we're never for sure. They snap on turn 1 as we're making bad jokes. Probably the price that we pay. But we have Luke Cage, Nocturne in our opening build. We don't have Nightcrawler. Luke Cage was originally in the original build. It was Nightcrawler. And so if you aren't seeing very much Affliction or Ajax, then you could probably sub him back out as that flexible tool for the Namora line. But as is, they start with a Pixie from Arisham, which is always interesting unless they have a Mobius follow-up. It gets really crazy really fast. So then it may not be the best thing for them. And so Black Widow unfortunately does hurt us a touch here. But we can go something like Widow's Bite. We can play Thor. Next turn, depending on what we get, we could always go Shuri into Jane Foster on 5 to give us a big push in 1 lane. It's not perfect, but it's not awful either. So the Shuri in Stark Towers, unfortunate. We're going to have to be able to come way over the top of whatever they play. Because with Arisham, it's probably going to be something pretty decent sized. We could go Shuri. We have the name Namora now, but I think we go something like Nocturne. We have Luke Cage, so maybe we just play Luke Cage into the sewer system. Get the extra value on them there. Do that or the Nocturne, but I'm going to go Luke Cage. Against my better judgment, let's go Luke Cage. Next turn would be Jane Foster to pull out Mjolnir, and then we're looking for how to finesse it from there. And so the Wolverine as that double drop, we're not going to go Jane Foster on 5. Never mind. The Yondu does take out Mjolnir as well, so we didn't want to do that anyways. At the very least, we can go Nocturne Jeff in the right lane. They know that our Thor is not going to scale anymore. It's a little bit of a Thor subject for us, but we move onward and upward. All right, so the Vulture comes in. They do lock themselves into the Stark Tower lane. Interesting. So if we have this power beaten, they only have one card in hand as well. Super interesting. So all we have to do is beat whatever they play. We have 2 cards. So I think it becomes a Jeff into Namora situation. So if they have Blob, they're thinking that if we can only play 1 card, it comes down to a tiebreaker. We're going to make it where we continue to win this right lane, but we're going to push Jeff over here so that we win against whatever they have currently. We win against anything unless they play additional cards here. I think this is what we're going to go with. I don't want to snap back. We're just going to lock it in. They do go with a good old thumbs up for whatever reason, comrade. But the loot cage comes in, pushes the middle location up quite a bit, but that is not going to be enough because our Namora is going to push loot cage just a touch over. We actually get the casserole on them from the Agent Coulson, the loot cage, and that is going to be 4 cubes. And I think they're probably regretting the Miss Marvel middle finger that they sent our way. Comrade, until next time, let's go ahead and take the 4, jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have a Frenzy. The first location is Asgard, and so most likely going to be positioning a White Widow over there. They have Kitty Pride, so they're looking at doing some bounce style stuff. Maybe we go White Widow into Castle Blackstone. That'll give us 4 on turn number 3. We can go an early Beta Ray Bill, which gives us a decent amount of power in Asgard to try to win that one. We have Jeff that can be that versatile mobile resource. We have Odin to re-trigger the Beta Ray Bill hammer once it eventually comes into our hand, I assume. And I think that's a good tentative line. So they have a Hood in the right lane. Could be a full-on bounce deck. Could be a Nihilus. There's several ways that Hood is kind of back in that mix of good cards. Now, unfortunately, Pet Mansion in the right lane means that I'll have to play Beta Ray Bill there if I want to make use of the extra energy from Castle Blackstone. The good news with that is that we can guarantee that we win Castle Blackstone going into turn number 4 because they can't play their cards over there. Then we can curve into Jane Foster on 5 in Asgard, which is going to be so much value. And so Nico comes in, the Kitty Pride comes in, doubles up the power of the Nico. I think Jane Foster to the left is what we're going to be pumping this turn. We do have the Thor, so we could always kind of pump the brakes a little bit, go Thor plus Jeff. That still allows us the Jane Foster on 5. If we need to, it might be that if we win Asgard, it might be that we just pull into some of those. But as of right now, I think we're going to go Jeff and Thor in the left lane, see if maybe we can win with that one. They do have the Kitty Pride that's been buffed up quite a bit. I think it's a 4 power card. But that's not going to be enough to overshower the Asgard win. We have Sage now, we have Echo. So if they were looking to do like a Hawk or an Iron Man, that's no longer going to be in play. We also continue with the extra energy here. So we could always do Namora or something like Echo Jane Foster. That way if they do try and do any kind of like Iron Man, it backfires in this lane, and then we have the big power surge in like an Odin plus our 2 hammers going to that last turn. We also have a pretty decent shot of being able to draw into Wong. I don't think would be the Wong decision for us. They do spread that power out. Let's see what they end up having on the board, and then see if we're able to overpower it. So the Stormbreaker, the Mjolnir comes in, huge power in those hammers, especially with Beta Ray. Beta Ray is going to be fantastic. They pull in their 1-cost cards. Most of the time, bounce decks don't have like a Shadow King. Most of the time, they're not going to have like a Shang-Chi. And so I think doing something like Jeff move into mid, into Hammer, Mjolnir, Odin. That gives us 24 power in Pet Mansion, gives us a lot of power in the left lane. We already have a decent amount in mid. They're going to have a lot that they're fighting against. Okay, so they do flood out the board. I'm guessing Mysterio is why they have one to the right, or they just had extra. Now, if they have Shadow King, Shang-Chi, we're in a really big pickle. Otherwise, I think we have enough scaling to win that left lane. They could have Hitmonkey, which could maybe give them enough pressure in the left lane. We are only 25 over there. So the Sasquatch comes in, the Kitty Pryde to the left, and then what else do we have? The Demon in mid. They definitely win that location. Depending on what this last one is, the Nico is going to be so incredibly close. Had it been double up on power again somehow, or had they been able to use it into pumping up their Kitty Pryde, they could have had enough power in the left lane. Luckily for us, they did not position it well enough. We were able to grab the 4 cubes off of it. We will take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Atrix Clown, rank number 19. So we know it's going to be a good fight. The left location is Astrodim. We could use Nocturne to change that away if we play Nocturne on 3. We have the Sage line, we have Odin in hand, we have Wong. I don't think it's ever Wong of us to try to set up like a Nocturne, Wong, Namora, maybe? We could also go Thor, but I do like the mobile power. So I'm going to go Nocturne for now. That way we can set up Wong somewhere else, and I don't think that'll be the Wong play. The Namora right now is only going to hit one of our cards because we don't have a card in Fisk Tower. Debris. Interesting. So now we could do Wong into Namora. This being a junk deck, right now pulling into Fisk Tower would hurt us. In Raft, we have the mobile resource in the Nocturne. So let's go Wong in the right lane, see what else Atrix is running, because I think it's probably a very heavy clutter deck. Seeing the debris, I would assume we see like Green Goblin, maybe we also see White Widow, Titania, all of the fun, Viper, all of the fun lines there. We could always pivot and go Wong to the left. That allows us to Namora into the Raft. We could move Nocturne out depending on what they play this turn, or maybe we opt to keep it there and we just cap out the Raft location instead. That way we get the free Raft resource. And so White Widow is big. As long as this is not a fill card, a Hazmat. Hazmat is fine for us. That helps their Ajax. We do have the Soap Propellant in a Loot Cage. That can come in as well. Let's go Namora. I almost want to snap into this. They have initiative, though. So they can fill us without us having much say in it. We would still get a bonus in one lane. I still almost want to snap into it, knowing what their deck typically is made up of, but we're going to go free Raft resource. They go Doc Ock in the right. And so let's see what we end up pulling over there. We have, I think, the Sage. Hopefully that comes down close to last. Sage, not last, but not first either, so that's great. And then Thor as well. So we have potential to get a little bit more power there in the interim as well. Luke Cage, of course, offsets the Widow's Kiss. We have the double Namora trigger here. We can offset our Nocturne by moving it into Fisk Tower if we want to. We could do something like Nocturne, but they typically don't have great cards in hand, I don't think. So Shang-Chi right now doesn't kill anything except for the Widow's Kiss. And so maybe that gives us a reason to move our Nocturne over. We can play She-Hulk to the left, and then we just go good value in the Jane Foster and the Echo in mid instead. That's what we're going to lock in, just in case there's a Shang-Chi play. There could be a Shadow King, but I do think we end up pulling this one home. The Doc Ock pull just wasn't quite enough. They didn't have a great way to overpower what was there, and we had the flexible pull in Nocturne that makes it a little bit harder for them to lock in an ideal lane with Doc Ock. So we'll take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Cocoa Bird. The first location is the Throne Room. I almost want to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and play our Echo there. Sometimes you can save it and hold it as that defensive play. Sometimes you curve it out And I think I'm okay curving it out this time around. So Necrosha comes in, which is fine for us. We have White Widow, but I almost want Jeff instead. That way, if we end up going the Namora line, we have that flexible power. If not, then we can always White Widow into Necrosha later to get that -6 power, unless they cap out that location. And so a skip on 2 from Coco Bird as well. And then the Lechugia in the right lane. Unfortunate. We can go Thor. We do have Jane Foster. Maybe we go Thor into mid. That allows us to set up a potential Sage into Odin line. Or if we draw Beta Ray, then we definitely want Beta Ray in Throne Room. Because he's always going to scale just absurdly large compared to the Thor. And so they do drop a card into the Throne Room. Let's see what they end up working with as far as their deck goes. The Hood. And I know that I played Coco Bird earlier, and they ran something that ran a Viper for some reason. They did have Viper involved in their deck. I think I want to go Luke Cage into Necrosha, just in case they Viper the Hood over. And then next turn we can go Jane Foster, and then we'll kind of pivot from there. But it looks like they play a card, Moon Girl. All right. I did end up retreating whenever they had us almost capped out and hit a Moon Girl line. But we have Beta Ray now, but the odds of us drawing into that hammer next turn would be awful. So instead we're going to go Jane Foster to the left, and we'll see from there. If they go She-Hulk, so if they skip here, the She-Hulk would be 10, which would double up to 20 in the left lane. So we'd have to either be able to beat 9 power or do something different. And so they flood a lot of cards here. Let's see what they end up having. We do draw our Mjolnir. We have the ability to go Odin, the Yellow Jacket, the Mysterio into Hitmonkey in the left, which does push it above that Jane Foster range. It ends up being 11 power. So if we move Jeff and do Sage here, it's going to be 2, 4, 6, 10, 11, 12. That scales more than their Hitmonkey. And so then we're looking at doing like White Widow plus Mjolnir mid to be able to bring home the win in middle with Thor scaling, with Sage overpowering the Hitmonkey in the left. I think that's going to do it. They could potentially have another Hitmonkey. They could also have a Shang-Chi that they're going to be leveraging that left lane. We don't know. But as of right now, if we have the double power over there, that is a surefire win. And so that is what we're going to push for with the flexible power of Jeff. They go Titania in the left lane, and that is not going to be enough. They do have a second Hitmonkey, but they shy away from Necrosha because they have that -2 power versus what we have. We are able to hold that one down with our 13, and then the Sage in the left lane is that flexible tool that finds us the avenue to win. We will take the 2. Go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Nandor. I'm going to rotate our Echo. There's so many cards that it could be. White Widow is probably one of the better ones. We also had Jeff, Nocturne, Wong could have been okay. Beta Ray Bill, Namora would have been unfortunate. So would Jane Foster. We draw back into Echo. I don't think we tempt fate twice. Let's go ahead and go Echo into the right lane because the middle is the Isle of Silence, and so there's 2 lanes that they can't play their ongoing cards in. We have Thor going into the Isle of Silence. We do now have Nocturne, so maybe if we draw Hammer, we can just naturally rotate it in Quantum Tunnel, but we'll see. I kind of want to snap into it. It's a Kitty Pryde deck. I don't think it's going to do fantastic in the rotation pool for them. We have some decent rotations that we can really lean into and pop off. Okay, so they have 1 in mid, 1 in right. Let's see what they ended up going with. Athena plus Kitty Pryde. Okay, so Athena is going to scale quite a bit over in that right lane. They may have a Juggernaut. This could be the line that wanted to go with the... This could be the line, this could be the deck that wanted to go with like Iron Man Juggernaut stuff, but we'll see. So we have Wong placed into the Shadowland. I know that I staged it into Isle of Silence, but that is never the play. Athena scales, but if we draw Sage, then Sage is going to be able to hit really big over here. Speaking of Sage, my goodness. I almost want to rotate the Luke Cage here. Either that or we rotate Nocturne. All of our hits are decent. Hammer would be fine. Jane Foster, great. Namora, okay, because it helps our mid. Beta Ray, fine. And then Jeff. And we'll have 2 cards to play on the last turn at the very least in like Luke Cage and Sage. So let's go ahead and rotate the Nocturne. Because with them having Hope Summers, I think they could be looking to go Ajax, like a Hazmat Ajax line. So I want, okay, Gwynpool coming in for a big hand buff. Maybe they've cut the Ajax Hazmat stuff. Maybe they're just looking to go good value from here now. But we don't have initiative, so we are kind of scared there. We can go Sage to make sure we win here. And then maybe it's that we just go with a Prage in the left lane. If they have Juggernaut, they could really hurt us in this right lane. I think we go with Sage to the right, Luke Cage to the left. As long as they don't bump us out of Shadowlands, the double trigger of Sage can win us that lane solo. But Mockingbird, Nocturne, Kitty Pryde, that's fine. That is a lot of power over there, but our Sage is gigantic, coming in at 20 power, giving us 22 power total over there. The 7 power Nocturne, the 5 power Kitty Pryde was not enough. The 12 power Mockingbird coming down to Isle of Silence. Glad they ended up going there. We will take the 4 cubes. And that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. And just a reminder, I am live right now, twitch.tv/TLSG Snap. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.